Good afternoon, everybody who is logging in for today's Jewish Gen Talk. We are just a couple of minutes away from getting started. So in the meantime, as we always ask, please put in the chat where you are logging in from. We'd love to see people come from all over the world for our presentations. You can put that in the chat and we will get started in just a minute.
Okay, I'm back. Okay.
So we have people from Boston, 2 people from Boston, Fresno, California, Englewood, Colorado, Andover, Massachusetts, Oakland, Northfield,
Wow.
Tulsa, Oklahoma. That's Phil Goldfarb. He's the lead moderator of a discussion group. You have New Orleans and Bentonville, Arkansas, and Fredericksburg, Virginia, California, Florida. People from all over the country today.
Hey, Scotland.
Scotland. We have Florida, Cambridge, Massachusetts, Delray Beach, Florida, Plano, Texas. Jennifer Mendelson, Baltimore, Maryland. Nice to have you on.
Jerusalem.
Bonnie Burns, JGS Love Long Island. Welcome. Do we have people from Jerusalem? I missed that one.
Yep.
It's wonderful. Welcome. Happy to have you. People from Rhode Island and Denver. It's Ellen Beller. Nice to have you. Welcome. Johnston, Pennsylvania. So we have people from all over. For everyone who's logging in, we're gonna get started, and you could post a message in the chat to let us know where you're logging in from. We have people joining us from throughout the world today, throughout the United States and Canada and Scotland and Israel, Jerusalem, Jordan, I see just let us know. So welcome everybody. We're going to get started. My name is Avram Grohl, and I'm privileged to serve as Executive Director of JewishGen, which is the Jewish Genealogical Research Division of the Museum of Jewish Heritage in Battery Park in New York. If you've never been here, imagine the tip of the island, and right across from the Statue of Liberty is our museum. If you've never been here, I extend an invitation to all of you to visit, and you could email me when you come. Today's talk is part of our ongoing Jewish Gen Talk series of educational webinars. This particular series is focusing on research in the United States. This webinar has been organized once again by Ellen Coet, our Director of United States Research, and you can learn more about Ellen's project at usa.JewishGen.org. Ellen is going to run the webinar and introduce the speakers, but I'd like to add just a few notes before we begin. First of all, the session is being recorded as always and will be made available on JewishGen's YouTube channel. Following the conclusion of the presentation, or within a few hours, we will send out a link to the video on our YouTube channel, along with follow-up information and a brief survey that we'd ask that you please fill out so we can improve for the future. Number 2, we encourage questions and try to get to as many as possible towards the end of the program. You can post your questions in the Q&A, which is accessible on the bottom of the screen. Since we have a number of representatives of different organizations, you can post in the question which organization your question is relevant to. Please do not post your questions in the chat. That's more difficult for us to identify and to pull out. You can continue to use the chat during the program to connect with each other, to share information. We have closed captioning, which live transcripts, which I will enable in a moment. And we welcome you once again. And without further ado, I pass it over to Ellen Cohen.
Okay. So as part of Jewish Gen Talks webinar series, this is Researching Jews in America. We welcome you to Synagogue records as a genealogical resource. My name is Ellen Coet. I'm director of the USA Research Division here at JewishGen. This is a slide of our homepage. We have a website housed on JewishGen. The URL is up at the top of your screen. It's usa.JewishGen.org. Our panel today of experts includes Dana Herman from the American Jewish Archives, Mary Silverstein from the Jewish Theological Seminary, and Shulamit Berger from Yeshiva University. Each will provide an overview of their collections and what genealogical material they include. You will also hear about the launch of JewishGen's Shul Records America, which is a first of its kind inventory of American synagogue records. So there's a misperception that synagogue records do not have genealogical value, but many do. And that's what we're here to share with you today. What are they? Well, they are records created by congregations, their staff, which can include rabbis or administrators, other ritual leaders such as mohels, educators, or even board members. The records that are preserved at archives or even within a synagogue can contain a broad variety of materials, including some that are of more value to community historians than to family historians. But there are real gems to genealogists, including birth, marriage, and death registers, mohel or circumcision lists, ketubot, burials, and yortzeit memorial plaques. Additionally, there are other types of synagogue materials that may be helpful, such as congregational membership lists, bulletins or newsletters, board meeting minutes, donor lists, bar bat mitzvot lists, photographs, eulogies, and more. What synagogue records are, yeah.
Just maybe go to the full screen mode for the slides.
Oh, yes, sorry about that.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, thank you. What synagogue records are not is digitized in most cases. When I introduce Shul Records America later on in this program, I will share with you what we've found so far to date, and I can tell you about 20% of what we have identified are digitized. So here are some examples of what synagogue records look like. Our panelists are going to share more with you today, but I found these nuggets visible free on FamilySearch.org. And I thought if you've never seen what an example of a circumcision register might be, here's one from Temple Rodef Shalom in Philadelphia from the 1800s. Also on Family Search, here are birth and deaths listed in a register from 1876 to 1908 out of a synagogue in Portland, Oregon. Here is a marriage register, which included an index on the left to individual, what are essentially the language of a ketubah printed on each page for a different marriage. This was for Congregation Beth Shalom out of Richmond, Virginia. This was an interesting find on Family Search. These are marriages of those born in the United States, but conducted outside of the United States in places like Amsterdam, Curacao, and St. Eustatius. Yeshiva University will share more with you about congregational bulletins. JTS, I found this register of pupils, which can sometimes, student registers can include 2-generation Jewish names or the name of parents, a residence, an age of the child. We find membership registers similar that look like this. We've also seen sisterhood registers and donor lists. Of course, many congregations save their photos. We walk down the hallways and find confirmation photos, photos of past presidents or board members, donors, and sometimes congregations have scrapbooks or picture yearbooks that they have compiled and kept in their archive. Here's an example of an Escabot prayer list. This is commonly found in Sephardic liturgy congregations. This one is from Congregation Mikveh Israel, the historic Revolutionary era synagogue in Philadelphia from 1785. So where are the synagogue records? They can be at an active synagogue, and no one's ever compiled them. Maybe they don't even know what each employee contains in their file cabinet, or maybe a senior member of the congregation has records off-site. They can also be at an archive because a congregation has compiled those records and sent them to an archive. You can, of course, search where defunct or historical congregational records may have been deposited by searching the congregational name, a rabbi name, a mohel name, on places like WorldCat, ArchiveGrid, or Google. Maybe you'll find the location of preserved material hidden away, but we are finding them at hundreds of small historical societies, museums, archives, or even within the commercial genealogy company catalogs. The reality is that the archival world does not catalog all collections with the same terminology or use the same transcriptions from foreign languages. There are also boxes at archives that are not described in finding aids and never make their way to WorldCat or Google. So when searching with a phrase such as synagogue records, a collection that is simply cataloged as congregation register or rabbinical papers, or not described at all, may not point you to where the records exist and are housed, or even what they contain. There are also many errors in catalogs, and the only way to verify contents is to see the records in person or by digitizing them for broader access. To make it easier and in one place to identify where these congregational records are housed, JewishGen has partnered with the American Jewish Archives, the Center for Jewish History, Yeshiva University, and the Jewish Theological Seminary to start the search for you with a Shul Records America finding aid that points you in the right direction to get started. We've also added hidden online gems from Family Search and elsewhere. I'll tell you more about Shul Records America later, but first I'd like to introduce you to our esteemed panel. First up will be Shulamit Z. Berger. She is the curator of special collections at Yeshiva University. She has an MS from the School of Library Service at Columbia University and an MS in Modern Jewish History from the Bernard Revel Graduate School of Yeshiva University. She blogs at Yeshiva University Library. Her translation of Joseph Apatoshu's novel Hebrew is forthcoming from Ben Yehuda Press. After Shuli will be Mary Lamott Silverstein, who is an archivist at the Jewish Theological Seminary in New York City. She has also worked in the archives of the Museum of the City of New York, StoryCorps in Brooklyn, the Institute for Advanced Study in Princeton, New Jersey, and the Mount Sinai Hospital Archives in New York. She is a graduate of the University of Illinois School of Information Sciences. She holds an MLIS, and the University of Chicago with a BA. And third on the panel will be Dana Herman, who is Director of Research and Collections at the Jacob Rader Marcus Center of the American Jewish Archives on the Cincinnati campus of Hebrew Union College, Jewish Institute of Religion. Established in 1947, the American Jewish Archives is the largest freestanding repository dedicated to preserving the records of American Jews. Dana earned her doctorate in modern Jewish history from McGill University in Montreal. She is a member of the Association for Jewish Studies, a board member of the Jewish Community Legacy Project, which she will discuss in her presentation, and an honorary advisory board member of our own JewishGen USA Research Division. Dana is a former board member of the Southern Jewish Historical Society. For 15 years, she has served as managing editor of the American Jewish Archives Journal, the Marcus Center's semi-annual academic journal in American Jewish History, which is available for free online and is distributed to 6,000 libraries and persons in North America and Israel. So Shuli, if you want to take it away and share your screen, welcome to the panel.
Share my screen. Okay, hold on a second. Share. And let me just. Is it in presentation mode?
Hit from beginning in the upper left. Yep, right there.
Yeah. Okay.
Perfect.
Okay, wonderful. So as you heard, I'm Shuli Berger. I'm the curator of special collections here at Yeshiva University. Just a little background on the university. It actually grew out of a Jewish elementary school, Yeshiva Eitz Chaim, which was founded in 1886, and a rabbinical school, the Rabbi Isaac Elchanan Theological Seminary, which was founded in 1897. And these institutions were on the Lower East Side of Manhattan, and they decided to start a college, which opened in 1928. And at the time, the college and the other Judaica schools moved to Washington Heights, where they are still located today. That was in 1928. But the archives as a formal thing didn't really start until the 1970s. So it's sort of unfortunate. Maybe we would have had many more synagogue records, but we have what we have. If anyone wants to reach me, this is my contact information. And I believe everyone's going to get a copy of this. This is really a list and brief description of our synagogue collections. There are about a dozen of them. What I would say is our entire archives focuses primarily on Orthodox Jewish institutions, primarily in the United States, primarily 20th century. And the synagogue records are the same. You can even see they're mostly from Manhattan. I think 2 from the Bronx, 1 Queens, 1 Long Island. So that's, but if you wanted to find out what's available, and that's really what I'm going to focus on, how would you find something in our archives? You would go to the library homepage, which is here, and you would see this, and you would see a search bar. You would click on archives, and then you can put in any term you want. It's a free-floating kind of thing. I put in synagogue. You could put in wedding, bar mitzvah, death, birth, and see what you get. If you put in synagogue, you get something like this. It'll actually tell you there are 82 items, 82 collections with the word synagogue. That's actually because many collections, in addition to formal synagogue records, may just happen to have the word synagogue in them. But you may find something of interest there in any case. But say, oh, I should go back. Okay. Say one of the records you get here is Lincoln Square Synagogue, which is a synagogue on Manhattan's Upper West Side. We acquired these records when they were moving. That's, I would say, is for us typically how we acquire anything. Something's moving or they need more space. So, and this gives you information. You can see the dates of the collection. This is not that long ago, 1963. The extent, here's 80 linear feet. And just, I'm skipping to another collection, Congregation Kilath Jeshurun, which is probably the oldest synagogue records we have. This is a synagogue on the Upper East Side, founded in 1872 by Jews who were essentially moving uptown from the Lower East Side. And you can see the dates. Most of the material doesn't start until 1940, but I'm showing you this slide so you can see that on the left, there are things you can click on over here. So let's say you were interested in, oh, I don't think it's here, printed records. You would click on the thing on the left and you get more information. Although, as Ellen said before, what you're getting here is descriptions of the collection. You're not getting actual records. If you want to see the actual records, if you think there's something here of interest, people can make appointments to visit in person, or they can contact me and you know, I can look for things. And one of the things you can see here, it says Synagogue Bulletins 1925 to 2021. And then digital versions of the bulletin are available online. And there's a link here to click. And in terms of Yeshiva University, these are our most accessible records, a collection of New York synagogue bulletins. And it's on the homepage of that is this bulletin from Kilath Jeshurun. This is the link to the entire synagogue collection. It's really bulletins from 4 synagogues. They're more listed here, but some were mergers. But this collection is fully searchable. All the issues have been digitized. And you could just put in a word in the search box on top. I chose Maisel, just as an example. And when you would click on that, you would get this display, and you would see that it's actually in 3 bulletins. And then you can actually click on the bulletin itself. And you can even, once you're in the bulletins, you can search by word. You can actually put a word in this search box. And when you click on it, you'll get the page with the word, and the word is actually highlighted. So in this case, you can see that this David Maisel was one of 7 Ramaz seniors declared finalists in national merit competition. Sort of an aside, this particular congregation, Kilat Jeshurun, actually produced yearbooks. I don't know how many congregations did that. And in our case, this is the only one that did that. So there's information about members and sometimes pictures. Let's see. Just want to give you some examples of things that are not online. Let's say you looked in you found this synagogue, Chevra Poel Tzedek Anshe Ilya, which was a synagogue on the Lower East Side with members primarily from this Lithuanian town of Ilya. It's what's known as a Landsmannschaft synagogue. In other words, people from the same hometown, the same accent, the same type of prayer service, got together and founded a synagogue. I think over the years, a lot of other people joined this. But this particular synagogue, one year in the 1920s, made this, they called it a Sefer HaZahav, a golden book. And they actually put in, you can see the names of the members, Hebrew name. I don't know if this is the name they would have been called up to the Torah by, for example, but their names, the names of children, the ages. And the same synagogue also put out only once an amazing dinner journal where they actually have pictures of the various, the trustees, and there are pages and pages of this. So, I mean, that's just to give you an example. The other thing I would say in terms of Yeshiva University is we're also the custodians of Yeshiva University's records. So we do not have student records, but if you had a relative or someone who had some connection to Yeshiva University, there's a possibility we would have something about them. There was a placement division, so sometimes in there we have some information about some synagogues, but it's kind of sporadic. Anyway, if anyone wants to contact me, I think my email was up and you'll get the information afterwards. I believe in an email. So thank you very much. I think that was my 10 minutes.
Perfect, Shuli. Thank you. Next up is Mary Silverstein from Jewish Theological Seminary.
Hello. Can I share my screen if Shuli is still?
Oh, yes, sorry.
Okay, that's okay.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Mary Silverstein, and I am an archivist at the Jewish Theological Seminary. Oops. Sorry. Excuse me. Let me just go back. Okay. Okay. I am an archivist at the Jewish Theological Seminary. So JTS was founded in 1886. Like Julie, I'm just going to do a little overview of JTS. We were founded in 1886. We are an institution of Jewish higher education and academic scholarship, basically. We have, so we're training rabbis, cantors, educators, lay leaders, etc., via the 5 schools listed here. We have List College, which matriculates a joint BA with Columbia. And then we have 2 different graduate schools. One is focused on education, and then we have a cantorial and rabbinical schools. We are located at 122nd on Broadway on the Upper West Side, right across from Union Seminary. The library itself was founded in 1893, and we're known a little more for our rare materials, which include some of the oldest surviving Jewish documents. So we have 11,000 Hebrew manuscripts and 25,000 rare books and 146 incunables meaning printed matter around pre-1500. We have 43,000 Cairo Geniza fragments and thousands of ketubot and broadsides and scrolls. On the bottom there, you can see on the right is an example of a Cairo Geniza fragment. And on the left is a ketubah from the late 1800s. I think it's from Iraq. But more relevant to our discussion here is our archival collections. So our archival collections represent more contemporary history of conservative Jews all over the world, mostly in the United States. We have 400 collections that have mostly paper, but we also have tons of photos and sound, video recordings, textiles, ephemera, all kinds of cool stuff in there. We have 25 synagogue collections and a number of rabbinic collections that I did not put on a slide because there's too many, but you can look them up in our catalog, which I will talk about in a second, if you're interested in finding a specific rabbi. This is a list of our synagogue collections. There are 2 here in bold, as you can see, B'nai Jeshurun and Park Avenue Synagogue. These are the only 2 that have significant digitized material in them. So as you can see, the vast majority of our collections are not digitized. And this is because most of our digitized material is from our rare and special collections. And that's not only because more people want to see that material, but also because digitizing them reduces their handling, which is really important if they're very fragile or rare. Obviously, if we had unlimited staff and money, we would digitize everything, the whole thing, all 400 collections, but unfortunately, we do not. So the types of records you can find in our synagogue archives is on this list here. I think Ellen mentioned that, you can often find genealogical gems information in what may seem like more pedestrian type material, like administrative records, like minutes and committee lists and stuff like this. So a lot of times if you go afield from your normal life cycle type documents, you can find some information buried in other kinds of records. And obviously it goes without saying that not all of these records are represented in all of our collections. Some of our collections are just like only, school lists or only bulletins. This is an example of something that I just got a reference request for. So this is from the B'nai Jeshurun congregation, which is a large congregation on the Upper West Side here in Manhattan that's gone through, you know, various affiliations over the years. It's not, I think right now it's independent, but at one point it was conservative for a pretty long while. So we have their archive, and somebody was trying to find out what their grandmother's Hebrew name was. And so I searched in the bar mitzvah index cards that the rabbi had kept, hoping that, you know, they might be written on one of these cards. Unfortunately, as you can see, it was not, but there was some other information on the card here that person was excited to see. So that's an example of kind of a more contemporary type situation. This is a little bit of an older bit of material. This is also from B'nai Jeshurun. It's a death registry. So on the left, you can see there's a written out death registry, and on the right is a cemetery map, which, as you can see, these were digitized because they are fragile. You can see on the right there, somebody tried to fix that up with Scotch tape, which is a bad idea. But so you can kind of see the cemetery record, which often holds interesting information about who lies where and who is next to whom and that kind of stuff. So to access our materials, right now we are in the midst of a transition from one library and archive management system to an entirely new library and archive management system, which is a complicated and extensive process. So our access will change. The best ways to access our materials will change in a little while when we're finished with that transition. But right now I'm going to give you what is the most direct line. As I said, most of the collections are not digitized, but the way to find them is to go to our digital collections, because our finding aids are digitized, which is Shuli was showing you hers in her slides. So you would go to digitalcollections.jtsa.edu and then click on archival finding aids. Right at the top, there's a button, and search within that for whatever you're looking for. So I'm not sure if everybody is familiar with a finding aid and what that is, but it's basically just a guide to a collection. It provides dates, names, historical, biographical context, some sort of inventory. Some of them are, in our instance, in our situation, some of the finding aids are very detailed and highly described. The material is highly described, and some of them are just more of a bare bones inventory. And so it kind of just depends on the luck of the draw, what you're looking for in terms of how detailed the finding aid is. But if you find something that you want to see, contact us at archives@jtsa.edu. That goes to me and also to a couple other people who work in the archives. It's very helpful to be really as specific as you can be when you're requesting materials. Like if you do luckily come across one of those finding aids that has everything is very, very, highly described. You have a box number and a folder number. If you can provide that information, that would be really helpful. If you can't, if it's the finding aid is not helpful in that way, then we will be able to guide you. So the best way to see the materials is to come visit us in our lovely new reading room. But of course, obviously not everybody lives in the area. So the other way is to request a scan. And the way to do that is to go to the JTS website, which is jtsa.edu, and click on the library. And then there's a scanning request on the library services page. I do want to make a caveat, though, that our scanning queue can get really long, and it's really long right now. So there are not a ton of people working in the library and archives. So sometimes that stuff can just build up, and we wish we had more staff to fulfill all those requests, but we do the best we can. So please be patient with us if you do request a scan. And I'm happy to answer any other questions that anybody has at any point. And that's about it. Thank you so much for having me.
Great, thank you, Mary. If you could stop your screen share. Next, we'll hear from Dana Herman.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm very pleased to be here. Thank you to Ellen and to JewishGen and to Avraham for inviting me to this really important conversation about congregational records. I apologize for the police sirens in the back. I've put up my contact information on this page. I will repeat that contact information at the end of the presentation. So if you don't get it here, it will be repeated. My email, my direct phone number, the website, the address for our website, AmericanJewishArchives.org. And our physical building is open Mondays through Thursday, 9 to 5. We're in Cincinnati, and we close at 3 p.m. on Fridays, and we're closed for all major American and Jewish holidays. Again, I can't stress enough, and I would probably speak for Mary and Shuli as well. Really, it's really important to contact us, to make that kind of connection with the archivists and with someone at the archives, because oftentimes, you know, these systems, these archival systems are complex. You know, we've worked here long enough that we kind of know the ins and outs and how to navigate the system and the catalog. And so it really behooves you to reach out and contact myself or someone at the archives, another archivist, and we can help you and we can best serve you that way. So yes, we are located in Cincinnati on the historic campus of Hebrew Union College, Jewish Institute of Religion, which is the oldest Jewish seminary operating in North America. It started in 1875 here in the Queen City by Isaac Mayer Wise. This building on the top left is our building, dedicated in 2005. The building on the lower right is also our building, but part of that, what you're seeing is the original library of the campus, which was dedicated in 1912. So we kind of merged the old and the new. The seminary trains rabbis. Cincinnati campus also has a graduate school that trains master's students and PhDs in Jewish studies, Bible, and ancient Near East. We have other campuses. Of course, HUC has 2 other stateside campuses, one in Los Angeles and one in New York, and of course, one in Jerusalem as well. Rabbinical students spend 4 years on a stateside campus after spending 1 year studying in Jerusalem. And of course, we cater to students and to our alumni, but we also cater to people, you know, researchers who are doing research in American and Jewish history, really anything pertaining to American history, because I always say that, you know, anyone who steps into our building, pick any topic in American history, and there's probably something in our records about that. So, of course, you're welcome to visit us at any time. I'm usually here in the building, and we'd love to have you. Our founder is Jacob Rader Marcus, the renowned American Jewish historian who started as a student here at HUC back in the early 20th century, went off, became a rabbi, was ordained, went off to earn his PhD in Germany, and returned and joined the faculty of HUC, where he taught in Cincinnati for 7 decades. And, you know, he founded the archives in 1947 in the aftermath of the Holocaust, when he felt that, you know, the Jewish community itself needed to make sure that the records of American Jewry were preserved. And henceforth, we became really a national archive. Even though we are on the campus of Hebrew Union College, we do retain the records of the Reform movement. We are the official repository of the Reform movement and its various arms. We are also a national archive that seeks to preserve the records of American Jewry, and that is all denominations, all walks of life. And you'll see in the congregational records that we have that the variety of our holdings. This is just a glimpse at our lovely Barrows Lobelson reading room, where researchers, patrons come and conduct their research. This is on the left is the entrance to the archives, where we have a little lovely video montage about Dr. Marcus and the history of the archive. And, you know, anyone is welcome to come and use the archive. Of course, they're encouraged to make an appointment with me to come into the reading room. This has really been since COVID that we're limiting the number of people in the reading room at one time. This is a behind the scenes of where the archival material is kept. What's lovely about our archive is that everything is on site. Nothing is held in off-site storage. We have 4 floors of compact shelving and rows of Hollinger boxes and millions of pages of documents and audiovisual material and photographs, and it's all available at our fingertips. When a patron requests something in person, we just go in the back and retrieve it for them. And I'll speak a little bit about, of course, retrieving material when you're offsite and you're unable to travel to Cincinnati. But this is, you know, it's really wonderful that everything is right here for us to work from. As Ellen said at the beginning, you know, the archives is not just a place to do research. We also offer programming in American Jewish history. We have a webinar series. We have wonderful in-person and online programs. So if you're interested in learning more about that, I urge you to contact us or me personally. We have, as she said, a journal in American Jewish history. This is our most recent issue that just came out on the history of the Jews of Cincinnati, because we are celebrating our bicentennial. It's 200 years of Jewish life in Cincinnati. We're the oldest community, Jewish community west of the Allegheny Mountains. Started in 1821 with the establishment of the Chestnut Street Cemetery. So that's available for free if you'd like to check it out. If you'd like to receive a hard copy, again, be in touch with me. Now, of course, genealogists, a lot of genealogists know us through Malcolm Stern's landmark book, First American Jewish Families. We are very proud to make that available online to users, and I'm sure that perhaps many of you have already visited our site to look at that book. I'm going to talk a little bit about our website and how to access our catalog, which is vast, as I said. So really, I'm going to draw your attention to the top right corner where you see, you know, search our catalog, donate archival records, financial contributions, and then just below that, you see Ask an Archivist. So really, that's kind of the area of our website that, you know, you should focus on. Ask an Archivist will bring you to this page, which is a form that you can fill out with your information, and you ask any question pertaining to American Jewish history, your own research, and that email comes directly to me. And either I answer it or I distribute it to other archivists who can answer for you. We pride ourselves on our customer service, and we're usually pretty prompt with responses. So that's one way to get in touch with us. And of course, our catalog. Yes, if you click on search our catalog, that will take you to our catalog homepage, which I believe is is the next page on the presentation. And that's where you can do your keyword searches. You can type in the names of congregations, the names of people. You know, essentially our catalog works, as I tell people, it works like a library catalog, right? You're not going to find necessarily the digitized book in a library catalog. What you will find is a record of that book or of that collection and how to, you know, the information about it. And then from there, you can see whether it might be of interest to you to access at a future time. So that's essentially what this is as well. The catalog is our gateway to our thousands and thousands of our records, photographs, microfilm, some digital collections, but mostly not digitized collections. Again, what you will find is the catalog record of congregations, of rabbis' papers, and so on and so forth. Ellen asked us to put all the congregations on one page. I could not put all of the congregational records that we have on one page because it runs in the thousands. Because we are a national archive and our focus has been on collecting the records of American Jews with a real emphasis on congregations and congregations in the Reform movement, although not exclusively in the Reform movement, we just over the years have amassed a huge vital collection in synagogue records. So the ones that Ellen has listed in the Shul records, which you'll see later on, is ones that really have a lot of, we believe genealogical material for your users. But I would again urge you to be in contact with us because there's so much of our records that are kind of untapped and that we can really dive into and find out if they may be of help to you. Again, these are just some examples of the types of records, congregational records that we have. This is a Pew Index and a list of members from Kahal Kadosh B'nai Israel, which is our Rockdale Temple here in Cincinnati. Again, the oldest congregation west of the Allegheny Mountains. And so again, wonderful, wonderful lists of names going back to the 19th century. So, and the numbers of their pews, I guess. Again, these names necessarily would not come up in our catalog, but if you knew the name of the congregation or if you knew the people, were from Cincinnati, family members were from Cincinnati, then we could, either we could look for you, do a little bit of searching for you, but I would encourage you, if possible, to come to Cincinnati yourself and spend time looking through these records and seeing, going through and finding names like this. Temple Emmanuel, we collect a lot of bulletins as well. We took over temple bulletins from our Clow Library, which is just down the walkway from us here. Of course, the Clow is one of the largest Judaica collections outside of the state of Israel. And we wanted to take these temple bulletins and essentially digitize them and make them available online because we know how important they are for source material for genealogists and researchers. I mean, just this page alone from Temple Emmanuel in Dallas, you can see the names of people, members who joined, new members of the Brotherhood, gifts that were given in people's honor, in memoriam, people who died. And that's just one page of a temple bulletin. So really a wonderful, wonderful source of information.
Hi, Dana. Just wanted to watch your time.
Yeah, I'm going to wrap up. This is just a page from a marriage book, actually, that was just recently donated to us by a rabbi. So again, we have rabbinic papers that would have a lot of genealogical material. Rabbis, of course, were leaders of congregations, so they go hand in hand. And this is just one example of a really rich book, actually, that he donated. This is Don Cashman of B'nai Sholem in Albany. So again, we're constantly getting new material coming in. I work with donors in receiving that material. So again, important to contact me, reach out, and I could kind of guide you in the right direction. Last but not least, I want to just briefly mention that we do have a life cycle database that goes back. I mean, it covers material from the 1880s till the present day. And that was really something that we started a long time ago, before my time, and it's grown to over 50,000 entries of life cycle records that we hold here. It is not available publicly. We make it available on a per case basis. I can certainly talk about that later on, but it is mentioned publicly online on our website. So I did want to put it out there that it is something that we have. And it is an important source of information. I'm not going to talk too much right now about my involvement with the Jewish Community Legacy Project, but if you want more information, this is their website. It is an organization that works with small congregations who are closing or who are kind of in the process of reorganizing and who need their help. And so as the archive who works with JCLP, we kind of work with small congregations around the country to help with their archival material. So again, another source of congregational records. And that's it. I'm going to wrap it up with that. And again, my contact information, I look forward to hearing from you and fielding your questions.
Thank you, Dana. If you could stop your screen share. Thank you. I'm going to go back, put on my screen, quickly introduce you to Shul Records America. Many of you in the Q&A were asking about how do I find my synagogue's records in XYZ city. So Shul Records America is your new finding aid. It is a first stop place when you're looking for synagogue records. It's a list that we are launching today that begins with over 450 congregational entries, including those contributed by the speakers today. We have additionally identified a total of 47 repositories or websites around the country. This list is expected to grow as additional repositories are explored. If you are on the JewishGen homepage, if you go to where the research divisions are listed, USA is one of them. The homepage looks like this slide on the bottom left. And you'll see there's a button right on the homepage of the JewishGen USA Research Division that says Shul Records America. You can click there. That's one access point. Another is from the drop-down on the top of the page that says Synagogue Research. The number one entry is Shul Records America. If you click on there, it looks like this slide on the right. And anytime you see that logo, you can click on it and it will bring you to Shul Records America. So introducing Shul Records America, it looks like this. Developed by JewishGen programmers. And this is not necessarily a name index to records. It is a list of congregational records and where to find them. You can sort by any of these columns, by state city, by synagogue Rabbi Moyle's cemetery collection, by record type, by year range. Keep in mind with year range, it doesn't mean all years within the range are included, but the range is from one year to another. And then on the right, if you sort by repository, you can see the 47 repositories that we've begun to index to add to this list. If there's a green button, which there is with a plus sign on the left to any entry, you can click to expand it. This example that says Alabama Claiborne, Alabama Jewish Cemetery.
Ellen, can you make it bigger, presentation mode, so people can see it better? Thanks.
Got that. Yes, but I'm going to have to zoom down to that slide. Yeah, so you can click on repository to look at the repositories. You can open up the plus signs to see if there's more information. In this case, the language is identified for the collection. It is not in all cases. If it is digitized, there will be a URL. And of the over 450 entries, over 80 of them are digitized, and there is a link to bring you to the collection. Interestingly, those for family search, many are under the same link. So if you go to the microfilm that's on family search free of charge to look at, you may have to sort down for the whole collection view to find additional synagogues that are listed one after another. So take a look at that. So this is SRA or Shul Records America. It's www.JewishGen.org/SRA. These are the repositories. There's a list on the USA website, or you can sort by that column to see. We may not have collected all of the information that a given repository has and only found their listing through WorldCat or Archive Grid. This is a work in progress. We invite you to add more synagogue records, and we can update or edit if we've gotten something wrong. The details, most are in English, some are in Hebrew, German, and Yiddish. Like any work that you do with JewishGen materials, if you're not familiar with the language, there are tools on JewishGen. There's a network of Jewish genealogists, both volunteer and professional out there that can help you. Most of the collections are not digitized. When there is, there's a hyperlink. Some are duplicated and housed in more than one repository. Others are split up with portions of records in different repositories. If you find errors, which we know you will, please contact us to update our material. And if you know of U.S. synagogue records housed in repositories that are not included here yet, please contact someone like Dana, who's welcome to include a collection from any synagogue at the American Jewish Archives, and we will add that information to Shul Records America. That includes if there's an archivist in-house. Some larger synagogues do have these employees, and sometimes they hold the records locally. We want to know about those. And we need you. Identify where the American Synagogue records are, online and offline. Help us grow this finding aid. Please inspire individuals, once you see something that you're interested in on Shul Records America, to please create indexing projects to get a name index so that we can search some of these synagogue treasures. And if you don't find a congregation, perhaps you can motivate an existing active congregation to share their records. So know that yahrzeit and burial records are included in the list at this point. Some are indexed, some are not. We do work together with JewishGen's Memorial Plaques Indexing Project and the online Worldwide Burial Registry. I think I even saw Nolan on the call today. So we're aware that those particular types of records are better housed in the JewishGen portion of JoBar and the Yahrzeit Plaques Project, but we want to make people aware of those that are still out there waiting to be indexed. So we're going to go to questions. And let's see here. There's a lot in the Q&A. Anything that's about how do I find my synagogue, we kind of went over that before. Call the synagogue, ask them. If they're not aware, then check Shul Records America. And then there's always WorldCat, there's always Google search, there's always Archive Grid. You're looking for records the same way we are. So if you're finding something that we don't have on our list, please let us know. So Shuli, this might be a good question for you, but do any of your collections include records of Hasidic congregations, especially in New York City? And do you know of other archives that collect these?
Okay, I would say that we don't have anything like that. I'm not sure who would. There's SCIVO, there's the American Jewish Historical Society. I'm not sure what kind of records those congregations would have kept. I mean, that's sort of one of the issues. You know, if you have a small congregation, I don't know how formal they are.
Okay, anybody else have
keeping records?
Anyone else have information about Hasidic specific congregations?
Well, the Lubavitchers have their archive. I mean, but yeah, in terms of Hasidic congregations, I don't know. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Dana, is the American Jewish Archives Journal indexed on Percy?
Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to check on that.
Okay.
And if not, I wonder how difficult it would be to do so. So maybe that person can be in touch with me. Because the more people know about it, the better. It's freely available on our website and it's fully searchable. But certainly if we can easily include it in another index, then why not?
Yeah, let me know if I have some information about that too, Dana, if you want to talk about it. Okay, someone is saying, searching for records, Sephardic Shul in Brooklyn, Rabbi, same answer. Anyone who's looking for synagogues, check Shul Records America. Generally, we're finding that university libraries, particularly those that have Judaic studies departments, historical societies that are either local, citywide, or statewide, some Jewish, some not Jewish, hold synagogue records. So if you're looking for something specific, you might want to geographically look closest to where that congregation was, so that if it was donated somewhere that's not one of these seminaries or a typical place like a commercial site like Family Search, it seems like a lot of them are regional. This does not hold true for everywhere in the country. We do find unusual records in the wrong places. Maybe an academic moved cross country and deposited records in their university library rather than across the country where the synagogue used to be. So it really ranges, and this is the beauty of Shul Records America, to help people. Let's see. Avrami, are you finding earlier questions? Question about focusing on rabbis and moil records that may have been kept by individuals. If we find them, yes, we are happy to add them. We need to know where they're housed. And we have seen Rabbi Moyle records deposited in multiple places in some occasions. Yes, a lot of them are in private ownership. Here in Denver, we just received a big donation from a Moyle who was working for 40 years here, and now that was deposited in a local archive, the Beck Archive. So we're not focusing on finding them in private ownership, but we would like to encourage those people to donate their materials to these archives as well. No, we have no Canadian records. Shul Records America is US only. We will include the Virgin Islands, any American area. That unusual list from Family Search, it was US born marriages abroad. That kind of crossed the line a little bit, but predominantly this is US records only.
But I might be able to help with Canadian records if anyone has questions.
Okay. Avram, any earlier questions you want to throw in there?
There were a bunch of questions that were addressed during the presentation, and thank you all. I guess one last question to address in general, do the institutions share documents with commercial companies? You know, we've worked, let's say, with JewishGen to index records, but are there any agreements with companies, let's say Ancestry.com or MyHeritage, to index and make records available?
We don't, no.
We don't either.
Not yet.
Yeah. That would be a pretty complicated transaction, but maybe at some point, yeah.
Yeah, those are those all for-profit companies?
Yes.
Yeah.
So obviously we hope to work together. If those projects are available and there are opportunities, we would obviously love to work on those. I think we will wrap up. Thank you all. Ellen had to drop off, but thank you to Ellen and to Mary and to Dana and to Shulamit. We really appreciate it, and we of course appreciate everybody who joined us today. A bunch of questions had to do with how do people make requests of the archives? How do you make an appointment to come to the archive? How can you make additions? How can you send things to Dana at the AJA? How to update Shul Records America? So we are going to follow up, as was mentioned a little bit earlier, we're going to follow up with contact information and instructions on how to submit these types of requests. And you'll be able to hopefully get the information you need. And of course, if you have further questions, then you'll be able to reach out. I'd like to thank all of our panelists today. I'd like to thank all of you for joining us. Next week's Jewish Gen Talk will take place on Wednesday, November 9th. And the speaker will be Abraham Krauss, and his topic will be very lively. It's called Dying to Find Out, Beyond Death Certificates. So the registration link will be included in the follow-up email that goes out today. Once again, there will also be a survey. If you could please fill it out, let us know how we're doing. If you have any suggestions for the future, we would greatly appreciate it. And thank you again for joining us. Have a wonderful rest of the day.
Thank you.
Take care.